Fantasy, the brand new gacha game that has got everybody talking. But are we talking about it in the right ways? Well, greetings warriors, my name's Pruitii, and I wanted to take a moment and talk about Tower of Fantasy and some things that I feel like are not being really addressed with Tower of Fantasy. If you are unfamiliar with it, Tower of Fantasy is essentially an MMORPG in the same kind of vein as Genshin, if I'd say. A lot of people are calling it the Genshin killer, and we'll get into that. But the global release happened in the past week, and I played it. I played it last night as of recording it, and personally, I found the gameplay to be pretty fun. I was like, maybe I'll stream it, maybe I'll, talk about it. And then I learned about the company behind Tower of Fantasy, and holy do they have some skeletons in their closet. So I wanted to take a moment to highlight some of those red flags so that you are informed and you can make the right decision for yourself to whether you are going to play Tower of Fantasy or you're not going to play it any longer. So all of this stuff has been plastered on Reddit and on Twitter, and I just figured I might as well use my platform and share some of that information. So, a little background about the company behind Tower of Fantasy. It's a Beijing company called Perfect World, and they've been promoting themselves as the Genshin killer. But before I get into everything that they've done, I hate when video game companies try to advertise themselves as a specific killer of a video game. Your direct competition. You should be embracing the competition because competition makes people better. But no, you want to murder it. Anyways, Genshin is one of, if not the biggest game right now. It made the most money in any other game in its history in the first year, which is insane. There's a huge cult following behind Genshin and so many players. So everybody obviously wants to kind of be on the same tier as Genshin. Same does Perfect World. They did some things that were not okay. They did some things were not okay. So one of the smaller things that they did was they actually made they've been accused of creating bots that would copy Genshin reviews and paste it onto theirs, just changing the words to fit with Tower of Fantasy. And here's all of the lovely evidence behind it. Thank you to the Reddit user 15shs1 for compiling all of this, because they got some receipts. And it's just kind of yucky to copy-paste literally reviews of another game that you are directly competing with and you have called yourself a killer of it, and, try to use that for your own advertising. That's one thing, and that's not the bad thing. Some other game companies would be roasted to hell and back for that, but no, Perfect World did something a lot worse. So, and most games have a beta release, to get the bugs out, to understand it all. And since Perfect World is based in Beijing, the beta test is based in China. And with how China is, you need to have a Chinese ID to register an account. That's how most video games in China are, unfortunately. But not only Chinese people were playing this beta. Now, you might be wondering, how? Oh, maybe they had an international version. No. There was no international version, and the only way to log in was with a Chinese ID. So how were people outside of China, not Chinese citizens, playing the beta of this game? There was a Discord server distributing Chinese IDs to foreign players so they can get into the beta. Oh, and that's not it. That's not the only thing. These IDs were taken from people who died in a landslide. Those IDs were published so that the government could identify the corpses. So they took a national tragedy, took all of the IDs of the people that died in a landslide, and used it so other people could beta test their game. A fucking video game. Can you see I'm pissed about that? Because that is just so... Well, one, it's illegal. It is illegal. There's no confirmation of if it was directly, Perfect World behind it, but there are rumors and kind of like little red flags implying that it was a Perfect World employee that was, doing that. And the company denied it. They issued an apology. Or, well, no, they didn't issue an apology. They just made excuses and, they threatened to sue the person who made the discoveries. So if somebody's making a discovery about something and it's not directly tied to you, why would you sue them? Sounds like you want to hide this. And if you want people to beta test your game outside of China, make a international beta test. That's it. That's as easy as it can be. Or you create a temporary code that your system recognizes that you can give out to people so they can beta test it. And if this was an outside source doing it besides Perfect World, then oh my god, you need to never do that again, please. Oh my god, that is awful. Regardless of whether it's a Perfect World employee, which I really feel like it is, if they're threatening to sue the person who discovered all of this. But it rubs me such a wrong way of profiting off of dead people that they were trying to identify from a landslide. It's just yucky, it's just gross. And it's weird. So thinking about it, why would somebody do this? Okay, if it was an outside source, why would somebody do this? The game is in Mandarin at the moment. It's free. It's a beta version. So why care about it? Why not just embrace getting feedback from your Chinese customers? Because, they can read it. The Reddit user, Atimo3, did some digging and found that some people were giving these IDs that were streamers so that they could gather footage of them playing it and using it to promote them. Of course, it was never advertised as this is a paid thing, I'm getting paid, more instead of just saying that it's a good game. And even in their distributions of foreign players playing this game, the game is still in Mandarin. And yet, the specific Spanish YouTuber was talking about the game like he was totally familiar with it. Atimo 3's hypothesis is that Perfect World was giving these streamers Chinese IDs from shady places like dead people to gather footage and use it for promotion for the international launch. It just is yucky. It is so yucky. There's just so many things, as you just dive deeper and deeper into this, as people talk about it more and more, it's just awful. It feels so disturbing. And there's even more stuff out there that I haven't even talked about. There was, there's plagiarism accusations. They used assets from Honkai Impact 3 in one of their trailers. I mean, they claim that it was outsourced to another company that stole the assets, but still, having that tied to you and your company and your game is a little weird. And there's also an animator calling out the developers for plagiarizing their animations for a PV. Behind me will be the side-by-side of it right now, and with everything compiling on top of one another. So we got the fake reviews that they copied from Genshin. we got this whole shit show with stealing Chinese IDs, even if it's technically not them, like they haven't admitted to it or anything. Still having that tied to you is awful. The plagiarism. Apparently there was a bug in the Chinese release that you had infinite pulls if you just turned off your Wi-Fi in the game. And it was like a really big bug. It should have been fixed through the beta, right? It should have been fixed. Why even have a beta? Why even have a beta at that point if you can't fix something like that before a release? Because it's a gacha game. Their whole process of making money is you doing pulls. So if you can have a way to hack it and find free pulls, people are gonna do it. All of it tied together into a bow with Perfect World not really coming out and being adamant against these claims, saying, hey, we messed up. Hey, we'll do better in the future. I personally cannot support this game. As much fun as I was having, I mean, like, it was fun, but like, it's not fun enough for me to want to participate in this game that is showing so many bad flags right now. It's so gross. And hey, I took this screenshot on Twitter today. They're using a little venti thing. In their advertisements. Like, how stupid do you have to be? I'm sorry, but you're using the intellectual property of your rival company to advertise your own freaking game. It just takes what could have been a good game and taints it. It is just, I think companies get so caught up in the idea of they can become the next Genshin Impact that they don't understand what makes Genshin Impact as popular as it does right now. And I could do a whole separate video on that. It's because Genshin has done the base work of, well, having another game out first. They had a trustworthy game of Honkai Impact 3rd, which seems pretty well reviewed. I haven't played too much of it. They are doing at least a good job of updating the game constantly. Sure, there's no endgame stuff, but they're updating. They're giving us content frequently, which is great. And the character designs, they understand that gacha games need that character attachment, and all of it tied together. Like, it creates this package of this perfect storm for Genshin Impact. And I don't want to hate on Tower of Fantasy right now, but it doesn't have a lot of those aspects. It doesn't have a popular game beforehand. I mean, I don't really know the company, and from what I've heard, that they have really sketchy history. They don't have the same level of, I mean, I can't say content release because this is literally a brand new game, so we can't say anything about that. Character designs, like, I think they look nice. I don't know any other characters that you can pull for. Like, they are just essentially weapons, and like, sure, you can customize yourself to look like the character, but like, I don't know, it doesn't create an emotional attachment like how Genshin does with their characters that, they want you to pull for, and with this weight that they have, I feel like Tower of Fantasy is not going to be doing what they want to do. Because I welcome competition for Genshin. Because, as I said earlier, competition makes video games better. You worry about your audience leaving your game for another game. And with gacha games, you don't want that. With constantly updating games, you don't want that. So you need to find a way to make yourself better than the competition. And like, it works out best for the consumer when there is more competition. But this is not the competition Genshin needs, because they've already stumbled their launch, their PR. They've stumbled that so hard that I have trouble seeing Tower of Fantasy becoming even close to competition for Genshin at this point. I understand that there's a bunch of hype for this game right now. I know a bunch of Genshin creators are just diving into it. I know a bunch of just people are having fun with the game, and like, I don't think it's gonna last long, especially once more of this information kind of gets out to light. I probably won't play it anymore. I think I'm gonna install it, and hey, if I have lulls in Genshin, I have lulls in Genshin. I will just wait for the next competitor of Genshin, and I will try them out, give them a fair chance, and hope to God that they don't have as bad of a PR incident as Tower of Fantasy. But let me know your thoughts. Are you playing Tower of Fantasy? What is your thought on this whole debacle? I know I didn't explain it very well, but I will leave links down below so you can really dive into it because it's insane. And, just tell me your opinions. Were you expecting this kind of ranty video from me? Because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting to make a fun video talking about how I liked Tower of Fantasy later. But nope, here I am saying I'm not gonna play the game. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing. Keep fighting your battles, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo!